Hey guys, welcome back to this YouTube channel. Today we are going to do the market report for July 2023, since we're in August 2023. And I missed last month. I had a few of y'all reaching out, asking me if I'm going to do one. I couldn't. Unfortunately, I was really busy, but I'm going to try and make sure I get this out every single month. It does take a lot of effort, so would really appreciate if you hit that like button and subscribe if this is of value to you, which clearly is, so that you stay tuned and you get updated as soon as I put out any other reports. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, July has been a very exciting month. We've, of course, set out new records for sales. As you can see, we hit 2,647 sales in July. Rising rates had little impact on sales this month, as the year-over-year gain was 18%. That is 18% higher than July last year. So, and significant gains in the relatively affordable apartment condominium sector. So the apartment condominium sector has driven a lot of this sales, as we will see in the numbers below. And this has been a trend that's been over the last 3 months, especially for apartments and townhouses. So like I sort of predicted in my previous videos, a lot of people are getting priced out of detached and semi-detached, and now they're being moved up into apartments and townhouses because that falls within their price range. So make sure that's not you. If you can still get priced into a really good single family home, let's get you into it if that's what you're interested for. The sales to new listings ratio is 82%, which is very high. And our months of supply is at 1.3. So that's just a month and a week, which is really, really short time. What does that mean? If no houses come on the market, pretty much all the houses will be gone within 1.3 months. That's absolutely crazy. Our benchmark price hit 567,700, which is 5.7% higher year over year than July 2022. And that is for all house types, right? And then you got your detached, semi-detached, row, and apartment price. So your detached price hit 690,500, which is 7.6% higher than last year. Semi-detached is sitting at 616,800, which is 7.4% higher than last year. And guess what? Row and apartments, because of the crazy amount of sales and demand that's happening right now, they have really shot up. Row is sitting at 407,500, apartments at 305,900, 13.7% and 12.1% respectively, higher than last year. That is some really good gains. Of course, all of this is because of the amount of demand that is building up into these sectors. And in contrast to the high amount of sales, clearly the inventory is not enough because we are 34.8% lesser year over year. So July to July, more than a third of the inventory is missing compared to what we had last year. And our months of supply is down at 1.3, right? Which is 44% lower than last year. So last year, houses were lasting longer on the market. Now, almost half the time. That's absolutely crazy. As for the per house type, you can see for the detached, we have the sales sitting at 6% higher than last year. A lot of demand for semi-detached properties at 22%, row sitting at 8%, and of course, like I mentioned, the apartments, absolutely crazy demand, 50% higher than last year. So last year, people weren't buying apartments as much. People were moving here because of the affordability of single-family homes, and people got into that sector. Now that part has gotten quite expensive, and so clearly people are moving towards the apartments. And to match that, we've seen a lot more listings for apartments too. So that is sitting at 16%, the only positive number. For all the other types of housing, such as detached, semi-detached, and row, we are actually sitting at negative. So detached is minus 1%, the semi is minus 9%, and the row is minus 2%, as you can see. So that is year over year numbers. We are negative in terms of the number of new listings coming on market as compared to July last year. And when it comes to inventory, massively negative across the entire sectors. And when it comes to inventory, massively negative compared to July last year. As you can see, minus 34%, minus 41%, minus 46%, and minus 29% across all 4 types. So that is extremely low inventory, and that directly contributes to what's happening in terms of months of supply. So you can see here, even though we have sales up by just 8%, but because new listings is low, minus 46% on new listings for the row, we are actually at less than a month of supply for row, which is townhouses. So if you're looking for a townhouse, definitely reach out. Let's figure out a strategy to try and get you that product type. And there's very different ways to navigate this market. It's not the same as last year, and the strange strategies will not work because we are sitting at a very high ratio of 96%. And in terms of your benchmark price, of course, because of the high demand, people getting pushed into this price range, but lesser inventory, we are seeing the highest gains in terms of row and apartments, because that's where the maximum demand is. So those are 14% and 12% respectively for July 2023. Now moving on to the summaries, feel free to pause this, read through it. I will just highlight 2 key things. As you can see, the highest gains in terms of the detached, semi-detached mentioned here are coming from the east and northeast. And I just want to call this out because this is something I mentioned in my previous video, that east is the most underestimated, undermined area of Calgary, where the property prices didn't grow as much as the other parts of Calgary. But now, because of its proximity to downtown, people are considering East Calgary. Personally, I do not recommend a lot of my clients into East Calgary. There are a lot of reasons for that. If you are considering East Calgary, reach out, let's have a call, and I will guide you through that process. But because those values were extremely low, which we will see now, they are seeing the highest gains because that remains the most affordable part of town. So, like you can see, all the different districts, northeast and east, remains at the lowest price range, but also the highest gains when it comes year over year. In terms of the most expensive, still sitting on the west side, and that is at 6.5% in terms of year over year gains. For the north, we are at 6.5%, northwest 7%. The coldest is city center. City center is pretty average at 0.9%, barely any gains year over year. People are coming here more for the suburbs, moving around into the outskirts of town. And the best part I love about Calgary, no matter where you live, you're just 20 minutes away from downtown, so there's really no reason to live in downtown Calgary. Moving on from this, if you take an overall view, here's the exact breakdown in terms of the months of supply. So as you can see, last year we were at 2.5-ish months of supply in terms of the amount of houses that we had, the amount of houses you had to pick from. Now we are at 1.3. That is a 44% decline. 44%. That is extremely high. So you really don't have much time when you get to pick houses. There's not much inventory. You just gotta. It's about getting into the market right now. I tell a lot of my clients, you really do not want to find a house that is 5 out of 5 because you will never find it. You have 5 things that you really want in a house. If you find 3, really consider it. And if you find 4, just lock that house in. Because guess what? You want to ride the market up. You want to ride it up, gain some equity, transfer that equity over into the ideal house that you want for your family. But don't miss out on the opportunity that is in the market right now. In terms of sales to new listings, we are up from 70% last year to 81% this year. So obviously you can see the tightness in the market overall. Your sales to per list price is 98% last year. Now we are at 100.71%. That is more than list price. So you really don't have much opportunity to go under list price unless the house is not priced right now. So if anyone's telling you they're getting a house under list price, it's most probably because the house was overpriced. But otherwise, you right now need to go into multiple offers and above list price to be able to get a house. In terms of the amount of days that a house stays on market, last year it was about 31 days. Now the average sits at 20. I have seen houses go from the market within a day, within a matter of 4 or 5 hours. They listed at 2 p.m. and by 9 p.m. they're reviewing offers, and that's it. It's done. So you really got to be very fast in this market. You got to know what you want and really lock it in and go in with a commitment to get the house. Don't try to second guess yourself. Like I said again, the strategies this year are different last year. All right, so moving on into months of supply and price changes. Now, this price change graph is not your benchmark price, so don't look at it that way. You need to look at it differently. It's about the year-over-year gains. So right now, we are sitting at 5% higher on average than we were last year, same time, right? So we saw the largest gains in terms of year-over-year last Jan. That was when people went absolutely crazy. So if you think the market's hot now, ask somebody about last Jan. So we are still off in a better position in terms of our house is expensive. Yes, sure. But is the percentage appreciation as crazy as it was in Jan? No. So where do I think things are going to go from here? Right now, this is all with interest rate being hiked, and there's still exceedingly high amounts of demand coming in. So what do you think is going to happen when interest rates are cut or interest rates are paused? It's going to create a lot of optimism in the market, and people are going to come driving in. Every second person I talk to from Toronto, GTA, or even Vancouver, they're like, we're waiting for interest rates to pause. Then only we will take that step. The thing I tell them is, how many other people do you think are doing that exact same thing? And so right now, once the interest rates start dropping, the floodgates are going to open, and you're going to have insanely high amounts of demand, and there's nowhere near enough inventory to match up to that demand. So you want to strategically get in right now and lock something in before things go crazy, which I know they will. So in terms of the year-over-year gains, as you can see, in the last 3 years, we've only seen positive gains. We haven't dipped into a negative territory, which is below 0% this entire area. So even though because our inventory is essentially constantly declining, of course, that matched up with high demand, and that's what you get. Now, this entire section, if you want to read through it, it's very detailed about each property type and all the stats that I spoke with for overall market. If you want to get this, just click the link in the description and I will send you the PDF to your email directly. I might add some additional notes in here of my thoughts and opinions so that you can get this report, and you will get it on a monthly basis. So sign up for that if you want to look into this. For this video, we will not go into the details of this. When it comes to the different regions of Calgary, that's what's really important, and I've highlighted where you're seeing the highest amounts of competition, pressure, and product type. So when it comes to detached, on the west and south, on the east side actually. So on the west and east side, that's where you're seeing the highest pressure, more on the west, sitting at 84%. When it comes to apartments, it's above 100. So you're seeing 107% in northwest, 102 in west. South is sitting at 91, and then you've got east at 92. So what do these numbers tell you? That's the amount of people trying to absorb that inventory from the market versus how much is actually coming on the market. So it clearly makes for a very high seller's market for these regions, for these product types. And in terms of semi-detached, you've got a lot of different regions that are in high demand overall. Southeast leading the way. I just did a report for a lot of my clients in Southeast. We are actually in negative. So we sold 4 semi-detached in Mackenzie Town, but only 2 came on the market. So that's minus 100%. So we are clearly absorbing all the inventory out of the market without any new inventory coming on. And that's what's happening in a lot of different parts, as you can see. And for the row townhouses, again, sitting above 100, 112% in Northeast. It used to be extremely affordable. Prices going up like no tomorrow. But people are still absorbing up all the inventory. Now, this is my favorite graph to look at because it clearly tells you what's happening in the market in one single picture. As you can see, the total sales, when you look at July all the way back to 2009, we are at all-time highs. And when you look at the amount of inventory on the market, go back all the way to 2009, what do you see? We are at all-time lows. So we've got this upward pressure here, we've got downward pressure here, creating for a lot of dollar value for sellers, but also introducing those bidding wars and making it extremely competitive to try and get a product in this market. That said, months of supply in terms of detached apartments, semi-detached for each area, you got the lowest months of supply when it comes to north for detached properties. For the apartments, you've got the lowest in east, and then for the semi-detached, we've got the lowest in southeast, of course, like I mentioned before. And for the row, which is townhouses, you got the lowest in south, north, and northeast. Now, moving on, we've got this part. This is something I really want to talk about because it's something you got to keep an eye out for and try and understand what really is happening in the market, because it's easy to say that there's no inventory and then there's just high demand and that's why prices are going up. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So overall, we have 3,500 when it comes to inventory, right? Across this entire spectrum, we have 3,500 houses. But where is it all distributed? You can see most of the houses are actually sitting in the $700,000 to $1 million plus range. But now when we look at the right side, where are the sales happening? Can you tell me? The sales are mostly happening here, 200,000 to about 600,000. That's where a majority of the sales are happening. Sure, you have some here, but this dominates the market. So what's really happening is the inventory is actually short on this part of the market because the demand is too high for the lower end products. And so because of that, it's creating all this pressure. But I have some good news for you. If you are looking for a house that is 700,000 plus, if you're looking for a larger single family home, a lot of square footage, something in a great, really nice area, you won't have as much competition because the amount of sales happening in that range is relatively much lesser compared to the amount of inventory that we have in that price range. So that being said, moving on. Now, this is a new phenomenon that's been happening over the last 3 months and now has officially created a trend and something worth keeping an eye on and observing over the months to come. So initially, when we started out in May, between the amount of sales that were happening and the inventory that was on the market, we had a difference of 94 houses. Now that expanded to 317 in June and more than doubled to 841 in July. So that means even though we sold 2,647, which is an all-time high, we have more inventory remaining on the market now than we did before in relation to that. So what does that mean? That was clearly explained in this graph. As you can see, the sales are dropping. So sales are dropping now downwards, which is this green bar, whereas the inventory is slowly plateauing, but it's still on a higher side, right? So now the difference between the amount of demand and amount of supply is gradually increasing right here. And so what's going to happen going forward? We are heading into fall months and winter months. Fewer people want to leave. Fewer people want to move their houses. People want to buy homes. Everything slows down during the fall to winter months. And so you're going to have more houses to pick from. But the thing to keep in mind is lesser inventory will also come on market. So the houses that will be on market will be ones that are probably not liked by a lot of people, weren't bidded, and didn't get a high price range. So you want to get into the market right now. Now is an optimal time to get in and take advantage of this inventory difference because you can pick more from the houses that are still on the market without the good ones being gone. And now is also an optimal time between when interest rates were going up versus when interest rates will pause. So between these two, if you get a house and you are able to lock yourself in, once the interest rates drop, the demand will shoot. And if the inventory doesn't catch up, which I don't think it will, because a lot of people are locked in at sub 3% interest rates. So once the demand goes up, guess what's going to happen? This gap will very quickly close. And again, we'll be back in the same situation where prices are just going through the roof, multiple offers, and it's very difficult to get you a house. So that is definitely something you want to keep in mind. And to align with this on a final note, as you can see here, let me get rid of all of this. As you can see here, the benchmark price has a little pivot point. So we were headed up in a very strong trajectory, and now we've changed direction a little bit. And that is clearly reflected in the median price and average price. As you can see, the average price is dropping down, the median price also taking down. And so what does that mean? So now that means for the benchmark price, so the mid-range house, which is defined, that is still getting, that still has demand, but demand is falling off on the sort of like edge of the curve. And so my prediction is that this is going to level out at some point. You're going to see something like this. We probably won't go down. We will still have a plateau, and then we will head back up once interest rates go up. So we might have a little bit of a relief moment here just for a few months. Not very long, actually, maybe a month or two. And then as soon as interest rates are completely paused, is any kind of optimism in the market, people are going to come in, people are going to be buying houses. Immigration's not going to stop. There's always going to be demand for houses. And so you're going to see that in the Calgary market pretty soon. And so that sums up everything that's happened in July 2023. If you want to get this document, make sure you click that link in the description and it'll send it right over. It's been absolutely great going through all of this. This is one of my favorite parts of the month when I get to go through all the data with you guys. It gives you a very clear picture of what's understanding and helps me place you very strategically. So make sure you book that call. If you want to know where you are at in the market right now, what are your chances and what are you looking to do and when's the best time to make that move. So click that link in the description. Let's book a call. Let's get in. No commitments, just let's chat. And I hope to solve a lot of your problems because that's what my job is all about as being a realtor in Calgary. So I hope you enjoyed this report, and till next time, peace.